G'day everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's I guess the end of a long week for those of us here in Australia. For those people in the US, probably still tucked up in their beds, and for any of you in the UK, it's the beginning of Friday, but getting close to the weekend. So we've got Mark Toia with us today. He's been around the block and back a few times. He's directed many and acted as the DOP cinematographer for many high-end commercials all over the world. I'm going to play a bit of his show reel later as well, so you can see that the breadth of the work that he's done. But the main focus, at least for the beginning part, is to talk about Monsters of Man, which is his new sci-fi flick coming out soon. I believe it's actually premiering at the Sydney Science Film Festival. So if you are in Sydney, you can actually get an early viewing of it. You can see it on the big screen, so that would be well worth checking into. One of the things that I like the sound of with this is I know Simon enjoys sci-fis that have, I guess, a fairly believable plot line, and that they are relatively grounded in a future that's not so far removed from ourselves that, it's not Star Wars, it's something that could actually happen here on Earth. And I agree, I do believe that sort of thing is far scarier. So before we bring him on, I'm actually going to play the trailer. Let's check it out.
Sir, we've landed. Are we still in all go?
We are a go.
We're dropping a secret team of robots into a country that we're not supposed to be in. It got serious the moment was thought up.
Hey!
Sign up! You're all gone, or I'll kill you!
Do it.
These people have seen everything.
Take them all down. No witnesses. Oh, shit!
Do we have an ID on him yet?
Sending you a packet.
Special forces, huh? If this guy's a deserter, it could be the ultimate field test.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
She's a doctor. They're all doctors. They're here on a good cause mission.
Come on, man. Okay, you're scaring her. You're scaring me.
I'm scared.
Come on! Do it! Fight me like a man, come on! You were made by humans to afflict death! You were made by humans. We're different! I'm a man, I have life! You're a machine!
So good. I absolutely love it. It's exciting stuff. G'day, mate. How you going?
Oh, good. Nice to hook up.
Absolutely. It's nice to see you've got the movie playing there in the background.
Yeah, I prefer a distraction to my ugly head, so people can at least watch that.
So, mate, I always like to get people to start by, I guess, telling people a little bit about themselves, like who they are and what they're up to currently, and then we can kind of wind the clock back into the story from there.
Who I am? I just a filmmaker like anyone else. I make TV commercials around the world. I'm a director actually. I'm not so much a DP. I do shoot a lot of my own work, and I and I edit all my own work and all that sort of stuff, and I do lots of special effects myself. Hence why I can go out and make a movie myself. We've got all our own equipment, all of everything, so it becomes quite an easy thing to do, believe it or not. So my 20-something, 30 years of making commercials has honed me into the ultimate Swiss Army knife, and I can, that's where I am today. I make a lot of TV commercials, and I've just decided to make a movie just to see what the lay of the land is there in that world.
So
it's all
sci-fi.
good.
Sci-fi being something that I guess out of the different movie genres, is that a favourite for you? What's the reason you decided to go down the path of doing a sci-fi as your first feature?
Well, I did a bit of a study first. Like I said, this was a commercial experiment, and I wanted to make sure I didn't make a film that was just going to sit on a shelf. So I thought, well, what's better than doing more of a big budget looking genre film rather than a small drama of someone with health issues in the back of Sydney or doing drugs or whatever. You know what I mean? I couldn't get my head around the commercial aspects of doing a little Aussie drama that might never be seen. So I thought I'd just go out on a bit of a limb and just make myself something like we've done, with robots and explosions and a big action film, something that we could sell to the world and just see how it went. And it was completely self-funded, so we haven't had any real stress making the movie, and selling it's not a big stress for us either. But so we're not really selling it the conventional way. We did try. We had a lot of people wanting to buy the movie off us, but a lot of those contracts are fairly difficult, for a filmmaker. So
I've heard of some pretty terrible situations. In fact, terrible.
Yeah,
deals.
a lot of them you don't really get paid straight away. It might take you years to see a dime, and there's a lot of anyway. I'm a new filmmaker. I'm sure the world's taking advantage of me. But that said,
it's hard to know sometimes, I guess, where these things tend to sit. I tune into a podcast. Now you're frozen there, so I'm just going to chat while we reconnect. But I tune into a podcast for people watching. If you're a lover of film, there's a podcast by a guy by the name of Alex Ferrari. It's called the Indie Film Hustle, and that's a really great podcast. And I think he does record some of the episodes as well, but it's definitely worth checking out. He's got hundreds. I was just talking about the Indie Film Hustle. He's got hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and he went into quite a lot of detail into some of trying to expose some of the fairly questionable film distributors, and just talking about these terrible deals where literally people do see no money, and it's just so easy for people to hide. It's super simple. Like they've got no transparency essentially in terms of you better see what's happening with the dollars, and so they can say, oh yes, well you were going to get a check for 1,000 this month, but we spent that on marketing money, or that went into your overheads here and there. So it does sound difficult. So if you haven't gone down that path, what path are you heading down?
Well, look, we're going through a pure self-distribution model now. And look, I'm not saying that all distributors are crazy and are going to rip you off. Now that we're doing a self-distribution model, we now know the amount of work involved to do so, to get your movie in 60, 70 countries around the world at the same time on multiple platforms. It's a lot of effort, right? And not just that, the marketing that we're putting ourselves through is very intense. I think we're doing probably a lot more marketing than what a normal distributor would do, but I really want the movie to be successful, and I don't want it to fail from lack of trying or at someone else's hand. So there's a couple of ways of distributing movies. One is making the movie, taking it to the markets, pre-selling your movie, trying to get someone to invest in it early, someone to buy it off you early. You make your movie, you sell it to territories around the world, domestic territories as well, like US and Australia and whatever. And you try and do deals to where you can get enough money back to pay for the cost of the film. Yeah. And if your movie's really awesome, they might give you more. But the odds are you won't really get much unless it's got Chris Hemsworth in it or some giant star.
Yeah.
So and hence why I went for a genre style, a big genre style action movie. As I thought, well, I might as well go for more bums on seats. I don't really have a big name actor in the film. We've got Neil McDonough in there, who's been in Minority Report and Captain America and all that sort of stuff. But he's still probably not enough to pull big numbers, but he at least gives the movie some real street cred. Yeah. So a lot of people go, I like that guy, I know that guy, but they might not remember his name, but he's been in 200-something films.
That's right.
And he's got a great following, and a lot of people like him. But the reality is the robots are probably going to be my biggest draw card. The action side's going to be a big draw card. The trailer does a lot of the work. The marketing does a lot of the work.
Yeah.
We're going to sell it ourselves. We're pretty much going to do exactly what the distributors were going to do, right? They were literally just going to dump my movie over multiple platforms around the world, and sit back and get the money. And so we're literally doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wow, that's awesome. I see we've got Chef Blake. G'day, Blake. How are you, mate? He's a chef, but he's been skilling up in the realm of videography and filmmaking, such as myself, and so he has an interest. And from what I could see, it looked as though you were self-taught. Is that right? And you started you kind of were working as a photographer and at a fairly high level within the advertising agency arena before then switching gears into video. Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, how that all came to be.
Look, it's quite a long story, It's a 40-year-old. It's a 40-year-old story, but look, I was a very good artist as a kid. I could paint real-life oils and draw amazing stuff and do anything I wanted, really. From an artistic point of view, I was just one of those gifted child artists, and then I left school and I became a boilermaker. Believe it or not, that was my trade.
Yeah, right.
Because my art teacher told me there's no money in art, so go and get a real job. So I got a real job. I sort of ended up with a camera in my hand one day. I took a photo. I went, oh, geez, that's kind of fun and kind of cool.
When you look at the shot construction, that's one thing I noticed when there are people who have started out in the photography side of things and then they transition across into film, seem to be very, very good when it comes to their composition. When people have come across from the photography side into the film side, they seem to have a bit of a leg up in a way when it comes to composition. That's something that I've tended to notice. It feels that way. So you started to take a few snaps, and then what sort of transpired?
Well, then I sent a photo to a magazine because I was into yacht racing at the time, and I was racing boats, and I sent a picture to a mag, and they sent me a check for $50, and that's where my head exploded, and I sent a few more pictures, and they sent a check for $200 or something, or $150, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then I just went crazy sending pictures to all these magazines, and then next thing, more money was coming in. I'm going, wow, is it that easy? Is it that easy? I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe you got paid to just take photos, right? So then the whole thing just got really big, really fast, and I was shooting for magazines all over the place, and then I got sucked into the news world. I was doing some like freelance work for Reuters and some of the newspapers as well as my magazine work. And then I bumped into a real photographer, a proper advertising photographer, and he was, seriously legit. And I thought, well, I'd like to do what he does, right? So I really got into it, big time from an advertising point of view. I sort of fell back down to the bottom of the pile again. I had to sort of climb my way up in that advertising world, because that's a completely different world to a magazine world. Then one of my clients asked me if I could make a TV commercial, and I put my hand up and said, yeah, I can do that. But I didn't have a clue how to make one. I just thought I'd muck around and just have a bit of a play.
Figure it out.
Yeah, and we did it, and yeah, we have these local industry awards here in Brisbane called the Brisbane Art Directors Awards.
Oh yeah, the bad C.
Yeah, and lo and behold, I won best cinematographer and best director.
Wow.
In my first go, and I was just like, well, that's kind of weird. And next thing, the phone started ringing, and 20-something years later, I'm sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. On that note, let's have a look at your show reel, because that's going to give people a little bit of context for some of the work that you've done. Did you edit, out of interest, did you edit the trailer and did you edit the show reel?
Yeah. I
Both of those.
edit. I love doing all aspects of the film and TV. So I was sort of, being a painter or an ex-artist or an artist, right?
Yeah.
I didn't sketch out the drawing and then gave it to my mate to paint it. You know what I mean? I didn't, go, well, here's the idea, you guys go and paint it, or sketch out something in a bit of paper and get someone else to colour it in. I like to finish the whole thing. So, doing a lot of my work, I really enjoy filming it. I really enjoy directing it. I really enjoy writing it. If there's some written dialogue to do, I enjoy editing. I enjoy the post-production. I enjoy grading. Boom, I like showing. So, that's just the mentality of an ex-painter. I'm not a director from film school. I haven't done all those traditional type things. So the mindset of, giving away your baby to someone else to do or whatever is not really in my sort of brain. Yeah. Not saying that what I'm doing is better than anyone else. I'm just saying that's the way my brain works.
Yes. Yeah, I can completely understand it. I definitely felt very much that way when it came to the editing side of things, and I even, like I ponder as things sort of evolve for me. I mean, as it stands at the moment, I'm in one of those situations where it would be helpful to have someone with some editing capabilities, and I've even started, looking into finding maybe like an intern or some sort of junior, someone out of someone who's just done a film degree or something. They want to get a bit of experience, or they've already got some capability, and they could come and do a few things. Because what and I'm just figuring all this out as I go, as I go as well. But when it comes to social media or something like Instagram, for example, I'm fortunate that I live in a beautiful location, so I'm up here on the Sunshine Coast. I could think, well, I try and use that to my advantage. So there's lots of stuff that you probably don't even need to be a half decent photographer to catch something that looks nice. So I'll take snaps or maybe capture a little bit of video and put that there. But sometimes I'll put a bit more effort in and want to actually edit like a little thing together. And I find that I'll capture a bunch of footage, with the thoughts of doing that, and then just don't end up having the time to put them together. So I've probably got 4 or 5 of those just sitting around that would be helpful if I could just sort of keep them turning along. So here's a big question. I'm assuming it's VFX, which I'm a little bit startled by because it looks so good to the eye, but the actual androids in this film, are they digital?
Yeah, they're 100%.
100% digital.
I did go down that route of getting quotes for the robots and to see how much they cost, and we were getting quotes back of $1 million to $2 million to build the robot for to work in a movie situation, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them were just with sticks and servos, and it was all very basic, and they couldn't do much.
Yeah.
It was just and the thing is, I needed 4 of them as well, so there was it would just started costing a fortune.
Yeah.
So my years of doing car commercials and things like that in 3D, you go, well, we can make a car look real. A lot of people don't even know they're looking at fake cars in our TV commercials.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our car commercials that we haven't even, there's no car there at all. We've put it completely in 3D.
Wow.
And we go, well, no one notices. No one can see that it's a completely 3D generated car.
Yeah.
And we've figured out how we can get so close. You can get this close from it on the screen, and you can see all the scratches and the fingerprints.
Yeah. Yeah, they look amazing. Just some of the stills of the robots. The quality, of the image. You've got it behind the credits. There's the scratched up kind of metal surface behind there. You've got so many different close-ups of the face. I thought that part could have been practical, for sure.
Yeah, well,
that really
means
impressed.
That means we did a good job, right? So, yeah, a lot of big producers, a lot of distributors, and people around the world that have wanted the movie. They all asked me who made the film, the robot, because they as well thought it was real, or robots, and once I explained it was all completely done in CG, they were like, "What? How? What?" Because they do movies all the time. They see movies all the time, and they go, "Well, why do ours look fake and yours look real?" I mean, so
Yeah.
I don't know. We did it all in house, and we split. Mind you, we still spread a lot of the work out around the world with artists, but everything sort of funneled back to us, so we could really make sure that quality was up to scratch. Plus, we wanted, to do a 4K finished film, so that means your 3D has to be even extra good, right? So you got to, so you got to be really, really, really into finessing it really well if you want to look at it as 4K content.
Yeah.
And I knew as well, I'm not a studio film. I don't have Chris Hemsworth running around in my movie. The robots really have to stack up and hold a lot of the weight of the film, or as well as the action and dialogue and everything else. But if I dropped the ball on the visual effects, people would have just sort of turned their nose up on it. So yeah, I just made sure we didn't drop the ball on the visual effects and some of our big production values, and we just we went for it.
So how many people do you have within your team? What's the sort of structure that you've got running there?
Well, it all depends on what we're doing. So from a commercial, am I still there? I think so. So from a commercial point of view, we've just got the three of us that do most of that, because I work overseas a lot. Even though COVID's happening, and now a good portion of my clients are still international. I don't really do a lot of work in Australia, but I probably need to figure out how to get back into the local industry. But it's just, that's what happens when I've been offshore for the last 15, 20 years, shooting big campaigns around the planet, trying to get back into the local market. They were going, well, who are you?
Yeah, right.
So, a lot of the big boys, a lot of the big main players know that I'm around, but a lot of these new kids that are sort of coming through the market, coming through the advertising industry, they have no idea. So, which is fine. I'll just have to send my reel out and hit the local market again. But from a movie perspective, we can sort of gear up to quite a few people to make movies pretty quickly. I feel that movies are probably a lot easier to make than TV commercials. Maybe they're a longer project, but they're probably, from my point of view, they're not that hard to make. But I think that's only because we've done so many, super fast deadlined, super crazy budgeted commercials in weird countries at a moment's notice, that when you have a film that you're doing very quite structured and really well thought out, it's a breeze. So
Right.
maybe I'm just used to it. I mean, a lot of people probably think you're mad, Mark. You don't know what you're talking about. But the reality is, I do now. I've done both.
Yeah.
And I felt like the movie side's a lot more of a slow-moving monster rather than a fast-moving lion.
Yeah.
A tiger about to rip your leg off.
Yeah. That makes sense. You don't have clients always put a lot of pressure on you. It's one of the things I find the most challenging, really, with the client side of things, is sometimes knowing whether that pressure is sincere. Do they really need something so urgently, or are they saying that because I know that lots of people deliberately, do those things as part of their kind of negotiation sort of tactic. I like to try and be as transparent, I suppose, and upfront and honest as I can be. And sometimes that's maybe been, to my detriment, which I've found difficult at times. I've just thought,
No, you'll be right.
I would have hoped that being honest would have been a good thing, but then there have definitely been times I thought I probably should have just tried to cover that up somehow. I don't know. I just like to deal with people that value integrity and figure that if I have someone who doesn't, then I'll find other people who do. And certainly, I think as I've gotten older, it's been more and more important. Now, let's talk about these adventures. And your travels over the world, and even just some of the footage there shows that you've been and seen some really interesting things. And I'm someone who loves just about everything in the world. I'm intrigued by a lot of things. Let's say I'm a very curious person. And I love travel. What and I'm not going to say what's been your best, because you've been to so many places. I know it's probably hard, but if you were thinking off the top of your head, like top three experiences that you've had as a result of this career path that you've gone down, what would they be?
I don't know. There's been so many. When you sort of travel the planet with a whole bunch of really nice people, making ads and stuff. Oops, just kicking that mic. Sorry. There's every country's got something different to offer you.
Yeah.
One thing I do love is the people in certain countries, like in Indonesia, for instance, and Malaysia, and all around that sort of that subcontinent there, and Cambodia, and up through Laos and Vietnam. Vietnam's probably a little bit stronger people, harder people, but most of that area the people are fantastic. They're just so beautiful, so relaxed. You know, you got to have your head in a different space when you shoot there. You can't go over there wanting to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour to achieve something, because you know the Asian people are very nice. You can't yell and scream and push your weight around. You know, being that Westerner. Coming over, highfalutin, carrying on like a pork chop. You've got to be respectful for, you know, religions, people's morals over in those countries, all the sorts of stuff. But, you know, the reality is a lot of those countries are so beautiful to work in and so lovely, and the people are so amazing. And where they might be sort of not so efficient in movie making, it's you as a Westerner, as an outsider, to leave a little bit of legacy there and teach the locals how to do it. You know, teach the crew how to be better at their jobs. You know, for everyone else coming in, to make them better, to make them more skilled. And it's something I really love to do. Actually, I really like to make sure that we leave a good trail behind us. You know, of friends and knowledge. And then there's other countries which could eat you alive, like China, for instance. If you don't go over to China with your A game, you're going to get eaten alive, because the Chinese are very fast and furious sort of people. They really like, the ultimate bargain. They like everything done on time and to the highest level, even though they're probably not paid for the highest level. Yeah. But again, you can't go over there being a jerk either. You know what I mean? Because the whole world will just crumble around you. And then if when you shoot in America, for instance, it's it's a big union type world, and there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of things to slow you down in America. Really, I'm not sure why they've made filmmaking so difficult over there, but it's just the way it is, and you just got to fit into that system as well too. You don't pick up shot bags. You don't do things on set to try and help out, because that's someone else's job, right? You just got to go to your trailer and sit there thinking, geez, I wish I could help. But but all jobs are different again in the States. It all depends again in the city that you're in. Like in LA, it's very regimented, and they've got a system in place. If you go in the Midwest, it's great. It's just like working here in Australia. The non-union side working over there is really fun. Shooting in New York is actually one of my favourite places to shoot. I love shooting in New York, because you've got this amazing, huge city palette to work in. There's just so many things and areas to shoot. It's like the ultimate city, for a film to make a movie. And I've got a couple of movies actually that were set in New York, which I obviously can't do now because, it's America's sort of falling apart at the seams right now, and the COVID's gone crazy. But we'll let them sort their shit out. But Eastern Europe is great to shoot in as well. There's a lot of really talented people in Eastern Europe. The prices aren't too bad. In some of the Eastern European countries are getting out of control because the American movies have been in there and spoiled everyone, and now it's they've sort of lost their edge. But you can get into like Kiev and Poland and Romania and all that, and it's really good. There's amazing locations in there as well, and really good people. You just got to go over there with a real plan and hope that they, some of the Eastern European guys want to work in that plan. Because they don't charge very much. They like to bring in a lot of people to fit, to make it cost more. So I like to, go into those countries to just really shoot lean and mean.
Yeah, so many varieties and so many different places. One of the things that I've also picked up on, and I don't know whether you'd say it's a signature or become part of almost like what people would think of when they think about yourself. Is it Toia? Is that how you pronounce your last name, or
Toia?
Toia. Oh, so close.
That's fine. It's fine. People have mucked it up for years, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. I go by any name. I thought my name was Shut Up until I was 5. No, I'm just a bad joke. My kids go, "Oh, Dad, you're wearing that joke right out." Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all good for me. one of the things I noticed in a couple of your profile pictures, you next to, expensive, some of probably the most desirable film equipment on the face of the planet attached to the front of a helicopter or on one of those crazy big crane style apparatus that people put on the back of like a great big sort of ute that they can swing around and do that sort of thing. Do you use a lot of that gear when you're doing your work, or is that more, I suppose, just showing that you're like the rest of us that like cool toys in the filmmaking space?
Yeah, no, it's on most of our shoots. Yeah, everyone used to call me Mr. Helicopter for many years because we always had a helicopter on set. But no, when you sort of get to the pointy end of the commercial world, your client have got particular demands of what they want, and if they want you to chase a car at 100 mile an hour through a rocky gorge, the best way to do that's in a helicopter with a really good pilot. Do you know what I mean? Or if you want to do high speed running down the freeway and get all facets of that car, and you can only you've only got the highway for like 30 minutes, for instance. You need to then get like the Russian arms or the Ultimate arms or the Scorpio arms, all those arm cars with the camera on the front. Yeah. And you can go in there and you can shoot, your headlights and taillights, your 3/4, rears, front, everything in a very short time frame. Right. Super stable. So if you were to trying to achieve that hanging out of a window, with your little DJI and your little A7S out the window, the success rate is right down, right? So you'll probably get a similar shot, but you're not going to get many. And I've got certain demands on a particular project where you really need to deliver high quality stuff and a lot of it. Because we're not just doing one ad. Usually these are footage for 10 other commercials. So having the right equipment, it's you really need to know what you're doing. You can't just jump in the car and hope for the best. You've got to go out with a bit of a plan. You've got to make sure the people that are swinging that boom, around on top of the cars, with a half a ton of camera and crane hanging out the side of it, that can kill people pretty quickly. So you have to make sure the people you're with really know what they're doing. You've got to make sure that there's a really good plan, and with all the safety people around you, the police are locking down the roads exactly the way you want to lock them down. The camera assistants and all the camera gear is running perfectly, so you just don't have mistakes, and you go out and you successfully capture those shots. But yeah, it's it all looks very leery. I've been hanging out of a lot of those helicopters and trucks and crane vehicles for years now, so it's all a bit boring now. But at the time, when you first started using a helicopter years and years ago now, and the arm cars, they were a tiny bit intimidating for that first couple of times, but you realise that, you just got to make sure that if you're going to do helicopter work, you just got to make sure you've got the best pilot in the world in that seat. Right. Don't skimp. You might be able to find the cheaper helicopter guy down the road, but that $1,000 extra for that other guy is going to give you 10 times better shots. Your safety's going to go up a lot higher in the way of, are you going to crash or not? You're not pushing past that pilot's expertise, like he knows what he can get away with. They know they've done filming before. They know where the camera is placed in front of the chopper. They know how to fly backwards. They know that they can skim across in the long grass at a foot off the ground. All these things. So you just got to make sure you find the right pilot for that job. With an arm car especially, there's a lot of people who have raced out and bought arm cars, but it takes years for these guys to get proficient in them as well. Swinging the boom and everything, it's very dangerous. They've got to have very good spatial awareness and joystick control, and so you don't take out a power pole or a pedestrian and all that sort of stuff. The driver needs to be aware of everything as well. Where is the crane at that particular time, so he can help the guy in the back swinging the crane. And and I've got to be very conscious as well as the operator. I've got to make sure that the driver knows exactly the speed they're doing, what we're doing. We've got to have communication with the car that we might be chasing. So we're talking to the car, we're talking to the safety guys, we've got the first assistant director in the car. He's sort of managing everyone else around that, so we don't have cars flying into our scene, which we could crash into. It's a very complex little machine that you need to have a lot of hours in to make sure it becomes safe. And safety is everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you done? I saw someone commenting, and I'm sure it was a Super Cheap ad that I saw recently. Have you done many of the Super Cheap commercials over the last few years? Because they've gotten quite elaborate.
That's a yeah, they have, haven't they? No, it's a young fellow down in down the Gold Coast, Alan Hardy, I think his name is.
Okay.
And he's got a really good deal with the Super Cheap guys, and I think he just goes crazy. And I do worry for him, actually. I do hope no one gets hurt, but he seems to be doing it all well, and his spots look great and lots of action, and we do a lot of that stuff, but not in one commercial. So he's got a great client that's allowing him to go nuts. Do you know what I mean?
Crazy.
And it's very rare to get clients like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a lot of clients around the world which they just go, we do this and they love it. Do this and they love it. But he's got look, I had a Yamaha client for many years, for a decade or more, and we would go out and shoot these amazing Yamaha commercials, all around the place. And that was a great client because they just let you do your thing. Once ad agencies trust you and the creatives on that job trust you, they let their hair down and you can actually do a proper job. But it's, but you got to earn that trust.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you don't earn that trust, then there's 1,000 voices coming at you with and next thing it's just the job turns into a mess because there's 10 directors on set, all of their ideas, and it slows the whole thing down and it's all over.
You can't shortcut experience. It's even just all my years of working in different business development type sort of roles and things like that, listening to you talk and thinking about, where I was at when I ditched my corporate career and decided I was going to try and get into filmmaking, which was a journey of the last, 12 months before COVID, I suppose, 18 roughly months or so. It was that sort of challenge of trying to find clients who'd be willing to spend the dollars that I thought that I needed to actually create a job that I could actually be proud of, whereas when you're in your situation, you've done a lot of these things, so then it's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to sit across from somebody if they start saying, oh, we could just hire someone, as you say, with the Sony A7 out the window or whatever, and you're like, yeah, okay, but, like the odds of you getting the great result are going to be much, much lower, and you're able to talk through some of those mechanics and justify, hey, this is why we're going to get the proper armoured car with the crane, with the operator, and those sorts of bits and pieces.
Oh, look, end of the day, it's all about money, right? If the client wants to pay top shelf, you give them top shelf. If they want to pay crap, you give them. They end up with crap. Yeah. And there's a lot of people in the industry now. Like a lot of kids have come into the ad game, and they are selling themselves very shortly. Their prices will never go up because clients already know that they can get that kid for $1,500. To edit and everything, supply gear, the whole box of dice. So that client will never give that kid a better job. Do you know what I mean? He's now ruined his price or his value forevermore. It's sad to see. I've been trying to mentor a lot of young kids about making sure you charge correctly, making sure to be safe. A lot of these kids race out, they haven't got insurance on their shoots, they've got nothing. Like, there's so much liability and problems that could come and bite them in the ass, by not protecting themselves in so many, areas. But that's the world of television now, right? Back in my day when I started, I only really had to compete with 4 or 5 people in Brisbane. Now there's thousands of people in the marketplace to compete with. So the only thing that you've got to rest on is your body of work. and you've got to just think, all right, does the client want to bargain because he's always going to go that way to that young kid with the A7S, or does he want quality? Do you know what I mean? So it's not like you should dish or be upset by any of that. It's just, people have different expectations. People can afford different things. I think people are just balancing their whole business life and structures. So you've just got to fit into their. If you want to do work for that company, you've got to fit into that company. The same with ad agencies. You hear a lot of people bagging ad agencies, but the reality is, ad agencies, like for me, have been hugely supportive over the years. They go into their client, they sell me into their client, they beg for the client to say, use this guy. From my point of view, I'm a huge friend of the ad agency model, and at the same time, we've got a lot of direct clients that don't want to do the ad agency thing because it costs them more, and they're looking for the bargains. So there's that catch-22 either way you look at it, and who knows where this business is going. I mean, like you've got to try not to bite that hand that feeds you. Like I would never work for a company, like if they go, well, I work for this ad agency, and this ad agency's introduced me to them and all that. There's no way in the world if they rang me directly and said, oh, we're going to push out the agency and can you do the job directly? I'll go, oh, fuck, no way. That's not going to happen. Because that agency is going to give me a lot more work than you are over the years. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you got to respect that. So the only way I'll do that is if they officially sack the agency, fine, I can do it, but I'm not going to be part of that political mess that everyone should just play nice and be respectful of everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
And it happens a lot. We get a lot of direct phone calls from clients all the time. We go, no, we can't. You know what I mean? They're just trying to cut the middleman out. But as far as I'm aware, ad agencies have a really good place in supplying a service. The companies should just recognise what that service is, and if they don't want to pay for that service and they don't need that service, then that's fine. Go and call Filmmakers directly and do it yourself. But they. It's I'm not going to like I said, you'll never hear me bag an ad agency.
No, I think that's very wise, and again having all those years of sales experience and now being at the point where I'm pretty over the sales side of things, and I'd really just prefer to I thought I just want to do creative stuff, because I was like you, I did a lot of creative things when I was younger, and then I kind of parked that for the large part for 20 years or so, while I was working in corporate jobs in Brisbane. And I kind of, for the last 6 years of those, I got involved doing a lot of recruitment for advertising agencies and marketing, and doing marketing people both in-house or agencies. And I really liked the agency people, like just kind of felt like a natural sort of connection there. They were just, I like that kind of little bit kind of zany, out there, charismatic type. And I don't know, it was just when I started to learn about filmmaking and doing video and what have you, I actually just started because I wanted to create a YouTube series. This was going back 2 or 3 years ago. And the more I learned about stuff, I was just thinking, just loving this, and then I'd watch a tutorial, or, I'd watch someone talk about, some technique or something in After Effects, and I think, I could probably do that. Like, I'm not going to remember how to do it straight off the top of my head, but I think with enough goes, I can figure it out. And even like you're saying, just taking on some jobs and then figuring out what I needed to know. And normally being fairly upfront with a client to say, they might go, could you do this? And I'll be like, well, I haven't done it, but I reckon I can figure it out. And I loved it. So, I think it is fun. And then now I'm doing this live streaming stuff. I mean, the ultimate goal for me is launching this social enterprise, Flicks for Good. And the reason I started thinking about that was I kind of have a little hope that I can actually help people in the advertising agency space, and then maybe even through them, people like yourself, to have the opportunity to work on really great commercials. Because my model with Flicks for Good is to set up a social enterprise. So the ultimate goal is to raise money and awareness for different causes and people in need around the world, right? So you're giving 50% of your profit away and giving that to organisations that people who are subscribing care about, so that they're not giving money, or they don't feel like that any money coming as a result of them watching content is going to somewhere that they don't care about. But my current thought, and these things are always variable, right, because it's not launched yet, but I've spoken to a lot of different people, thought about it a lot, did business plan, whatever, and so far I'm pretty wedded to the idea of it being an ad-based model, even though everybody got excited about Netflix and things like that because they wanted to get away from ads. But here's my thought process: is one, with some good, well-crafted ads to just kind of educate people to say, hey, you know what, take one on the chin, watch one or two ads. It's going to be maybe a minute and a half of your life, you know what I mean, before you watch a show. I wouldn't put ads within the show because I like watching a show and watching a movie without, and staying in that theme. But watch a few ads, and that's going to pay, one, for the content that you're enjoying, and two, it's going to generate money that goes towards these different causes. So you get a bit of a feel-good factor. There's a bit more to it than that that I won't go into now, but elements where people can donate directly at a click of a button, like an Apple Pay or iTunes store type sort of setup. But also, I want the ads themselves to be good. So I want to try and do like a bit of a campaign on both fronts to kind of go to the viewers to say, hey, you know what, if you're going to watch ads, I don't think advertisers don't like making shit ads. People don't like watching shit ads. So it's almost like getting those two forces together to try and come back to Mr. Customer to kind of say, hey, how about instead of making a shit ad, like you make a good ad, or running, maybe even having little advertising competitions within the whole thing where people could vote and on the quality of the ad. But that's just one little thought I've had, that I've thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you had like a let's make ads great again, or make TVC great, and the quality could come through. Oh, mate, look, hey, thanks so much for joining us and to persevere through the technical difficulties. I can't wait to see Monsters of Man come out. So it's going to be available across. Looks like it, if what you've got in your credits is going to ring true, it's going to be available across a lot of different platforms when you launch, and it's just going to be like a pay-per-view type sort of setup. Is that the current sort of system?
Yeah, we're doing a TVOD first, which is transactional video on demand type stuff, and that's going to be on, Apple and TV, and Amazon and Fandango, Xbox, YouTube, Google Play, everything. So they'll be on all major platforms around the world. I think we're going to try and get it on about. I think we're up to about 65 countries. So, and we're trying to do it a launch globally all at the same time. So, so we're just going to go for it and see what happens.
Right. So for people
I don't think by any stretch it's going to be, tentpole Marvel by any stretch, but like I said, it's all about awareness, and I've been in the ad game for 25 years. I've got to make sure I don't drop the ball at the finish line. I've got to make sure everyone's aware of it,
Yeah. Oh, mate, I wish you all the best. I think, unlike someone else coming along and making a movie, you've got a whole barrage of experience, at least, with a lot of the technical things, a lot of the people side of things, the business side of things, and the cinematography side, probably a natural aptitude or a gift from the get-go. So you've got a lot of things that work in your favour, and if the trailer's anything to go by, I think it's going to be great. So I really look forward to it.
I did make sure though, because people go, oh, all the good bits in the trailer. I go, oh no, they're not. There is the movie is literally. It's not like those shows you see on Netflix and everywhere where it's really quite padded out. You have 5 minutes of action and 45 minutes of dialogue. This movie is really, once it gets going, once it starts building, it just doesn't stop right to the very end. Yeah. Everyone that's watched it so far have all rung me going, "Oh my God, that's like full on. That's like a real proper real movie, like a proper big one, you know."
Yeah.
And it great compliments, and some big producers as well have rung me up to ask me to direct their movies now, and there's a lot going on in the background, but it's end of the day, I've the movie, like I think I said at the start, it was purely an experiment, a bit of a calling card, for instance, and just just to see if it can create another business, I suppose. And
man.
I think making movies is fraught with danger, to be honest. But we'll it's not. I don't think it's a very clean and tidy business out there in the movie making business and the movie selling business. But I'm going to sort of punch through it and just see where we end up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's exciting. All right. Well, look, mate, I would love to chat again once we're on the other side, and it's been out for a while. So, yeah, I'll definitely... I'm hoping to stay in touch with everybody that I've had on the show and just, touch base here and there and make sure people don't forget who I am. And of course, the more people who actually tune into Filmmakers on a whole and the more that people share it with their networks, then that's going to help everybody to get more exposure. And that's the ultimate desire. I want to kind of not just focus on, I guess, mainstream movie makers, like a lot of the ones I have in the thing here. I do want to hopefully get to talk to people who've worked on a lot of those films, but I do also want to talk to people who are, I guess, on their way up and they're coming in and they need exposure, and particularly people in your sort of boat where you've got a strategy that's different and you need to get all that that marketing know-how. So some stage shortly I'll have a little go through. I'll try and tidy this up for you, then I'll reshare it with you, and then you can you can potentially share that on with a few people yourself. Mate, cheers. Thanks so much. I appreciate you coming and dealing through the technical challenges as we made our way through.
Well, they seem to have gone away now, so you've only got to do the first part, I'd say.
Just got to record 45 minutes and then and then you're good to go.
Yeah, no, you'll be right. I'm not sure what it was. I don't know what it was here, unless it was here. But we've got fibre coming in the house, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I would have thought that'd be hunky-dory. No. All good, mate. Yeah, all the best with it, and I'm really looking forward to getting to see it when it comes out. Thanks
for
coming. Awesome. Wrap your laughing gear around that, people. Monsters of Man. Get to the website. I'm going to be getting over there to... I'm sure there's some way to get on the mailing list. Make sure we don't miss, when it actually becomes available here or wherever you may be in the world available. And, if you excited by sci-fi, pop your comments pop your thoughts in the comment section. It's always good to hear from people, and make sure you do all the right things, like, subscribe, share it with your mates. If you know Quentin Tarantino, you are Quentin Tarantino, then let's make that happen. I'd love to have a conversation with him, ideally in person at some stage, but I'll settle for video for now. And of course, don't forget, if you also know where an original Gonzo is, like an actual Gonzo that was used on the Muppets. Now, those two things might seem quite bizarre if you haven't watched any of my other clips, but I'm just going to keep putting it in there. It's better than saying what everybody else says, which is basically like, see you in the next one, or, just copying a Peter McKinnon. And don't forget to subscribe or smash that like button like it's 2018. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for coming.